Hello guys, Art-Teeves here. This video is the second part of the playlist that covers the process of UV unwrapping the simple Stylized Spider Robot character model. For this model, I used the simple old-fashioned workflow that doesn't involve baking any high-poly data. I have assigned all smoothing groups in the previous video, so I start by splitting my UV chunks along existing hard edges. The whole spider is unwrapped to a single 4K Reso PNG UV map with a padding of 16, primarily for demo purposes. If you want to give your model some real HD details, the padding of 32 would be a better idea. The model's UV are currently non-overlapping. For people new to unwrapping, a hard edge is where the surface of the model changes direction abruptly, creating a visually distinct line or corner. They contrast with soft edges, where the transition is smooth and gradual, like the curve of the ball. Normally, the smooth low-poly model inherits all edge and smoothing groups data from the high-poly model. However, in our case, I simply position seams over all existing hard edges. Due to my current painting skill level with chamfered edges, I've been using them frequently, as seen in my last video. For those with more experience, eliminating chamfers is a powerful technique for poly count optimization. I mean, you don't have to chamfer anything if you can simply paint your chamfers, and you aren't modeling some realistic object. I prefer to use Rizom mainly because of its straightening algorithm. It is very convenient and doesn't need any other software, and yet you can easily achieve the same results in Blender. Since the low-poly model is already split into multiple UV chunks, UV seams and some aligning and straightening are the only remaining requirements. These seams can be placed in either inconspicuous locations for visual concealment, or easily accessible locations for convenient texturing. The choice is yours, but I prefer to stick to the second approach. Also, I prefer to use anisotropy height data, which is a cheap way of making those hose-like textures. Its main drawback is the fact that it's pretty hard to conceal its seam with basic methods, like using the clone stamp tool. I'll show what I mean in the texturing video. After placing all UV seams, I simply relax elements and position them horizontally or vertically, depending on their locations. I mostly rely on Rizom's Optimize tool, O hotkey, and also its straightening algorithm. We could have splitted the spider on its bottom line of symmetry, however, I've chosen to divide it into two UV chunks. After all UV seams are assigned, I simply relax and normalize the UV chunks I get. Straightening some straight or almost straight chunks in 3ds Max is never a great idea unless you have some dedicated plugins. You can always do it in Blender, Maya or Rizom. Rizom highlights some overly stretched UV chunks and also some flipped UVs. You can use the 3ds Max's X-View tool to check your model for overlapping UVs. Before packing UVs, I alter the size of several UV chunks for them to be more detailed. It is especially important for some lamps. When adjusting UV island sizes, make sure to maintain relative proportions within the same object. It's generally good practice to keep UV size variations within 20% of neighboring elements. All UV islands belonging to a single element must be scaled proportionally to avoid visible seams. Before you send your model to different software, remember to reset its rotation angles, pivot points, scale and X form. I mentioned it a bit late, for we are in Rizom already. Finally, I resize some UV chunks I want to resize and repack the model in Rizom. Then I return to 3ds Max and use its X-View tool to scan my model for some overlapping UV chunks. And that covers everything I wanted to mention. I'll stop narrating at this point. Thanks for watching, guys. If my videos are of use to you, be my guest and subscribe to my channel for more stylized content. And most importantly, have a great day.